This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Vixen Hair. The extension specialists have 2 locations here in Brisbane, as well as a mobile service. So if you're looking to achieve the hairdo of your dreams, look no further than vixenhair.com.au and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to St James's Pod. This one is a cup special. We're going to preview 2 cup games as Newcastle United go away to Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup, and then we host Leicester City in the Carabao quarter-finals. It's an exciting time, boys, isn't it? I'm joined by Alex. You all right, mate?
Hi, Sam, mate.
And Tom. How are you doing?
Hi, good, thanks, man.
Good stuff. Well, we'll start with the Sheffield FA Cup game because that is the next one in our fixture list. And how are you feeling going into this one, firstly, just in terms of the FA Cup itself? Because obviously we're doing very well in the league, but we are being caught up in those Champions League spots by the likes of Man United. And we're also in the quarter-final of the Carabao, which is the next fixture. So how are you feeling about the FA Cup in general?
I would like to think that we're going to attack it the similar manner in which we've done the League Cup, and yeah, I think we've shown that in the lineups that we've fielded in the League Cup that we will put first teamers in there and take it seriously. I mean, we played a lower division side in our first game in the League Cup, and there was quite a few changes, and we were a little bit shaky at times in that game. So I think hopefully we learn a little bit from that heading into this one against Sheffield Wednesday, who are in a bit of good form themselves, despite them playing in League One these days. So yeah, I'd like to think that Eddie's gonna just carry on that vein and of attacking the cups with as many first teamers who are fit and able to give it a real good go.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll see some rotation on Saturday, but I still would like to take it at least a bit seriously. We don't have any European football. We are likely to have European football going forward. So we're going to have to get used to playing 3 games a week, 2 games a week every week. So yeah, why not? Give it a go, get the win, get in the 4th round, and then look forward to the Leicester tie 3 days after. So I think, yeah, we're probably all likely to see a bit of rotation and then more stronger side against Leicester in the quarterfinal. But I'm going to be there on Saturday with Pete, so I am very much looking forward to it.
What time are you heading down there?
6 o'clock kick-off. We're leaving here at 9 o'clock, driving down, get there for lunchtime.
Full day on it.
Full day on it, and we're staying down there for the night. So
Sheffield's a cracking night.
Be a good day out.
You'll love it.
I think it's 4,500 Twin fans going down.
Oh, class! No, yeah, it's a class city. You'll enjoy it.
I think for me, is talking about the FA Cup, I think for me this season now, especially because we're in such a strong position in the league, I feel like let's just go for everything. Let's just throw everything we have at every competition. And even though we don't have the squad depth and it might end up leaving us short towards the end of the season, let's just go for it instead of playing it safe. I think Eddie will, to be honest. And let's just see what we can do. If we end up dropping off in the league because we end up getting injuries or people are tired of the cups, so be it. We're still going to have a great season this season. And I think we've obviously had this debate before about whether you'd want to finish higher in the league or win a cup. And I think we all said we'd want to win the cup. I definitely would want to win a cup. So, yeah, I think even though we've got the quarter-final coming around the corner, yeah, I'd like to see us really go for it. So, as you mentioned, Tom, Sheffield Wednesday, they're in good form. They're currently second in the League One. They're 4 points behind Plymouth. They've won the last 3 and they drew 3 before that. So they're also on a nice unbeaten record. I didn't look any further back than that to know what the results were before that. I did notice when I was looking into them that they coincidentally just beat Cambridge 5-0. So they could obviously manage to beat Cambridge quite convincingly. So that'll be an interesting little matchup if we don't manage to beat them. But they've beat so far in this cup. They've beat Morecambe and Mansfield to get through. So not massively tough games, I'd say, but had to beat them. And they were both at home. So obviously this one they're at home again. And while I was looking into it, they actually had a bit of a Carabao run as well. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but they got beat on penalties to Southampton away, which is fairly respectable.
Do you know who they knocked out in the first round of the Cup?
In the Carabao, no?
It was Sunderland, 2-0.
Oh, was it?
Get in.
Very nice.
They knocked the Magpies out back in August, And then they beat Rochdale, which I'm sure we've had troubles with Rochdale in the recent past. I'm sure we had to go to a replay.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Maybe season before.
No, because obviously Cambridge last season.
I think the thing I'll say on the Cups these days is that the managers of the past always used the Cups as an excuse of like, our squad isn't big enough and we're going to put all the kids out and try and make a like subliminal like call to the previous owner, Mike Ashley, to invest in the squad because, they were forced into playing players from the reserves or the academy, like to give first teamers a rest. Whereas I don't think, obviously now, different world we're living in now, but even without the riches that we have, I think Eddie just still would have the approach, regardless of just playing the best players for the day, and not try and make these really. I mean, they were probably. I would say go as far as saying they were disrespectful comments from previous managers. To the fans at least, who want a cup run, but they would deny the cup run because the managers, or they'll try and blame the owners. But some of the managers, I would put it on them for not allowing the fans that chance to see the club really try and give the fans a cup run. And Eddie, I think, has got far more respect for us fans to want to give us that chance of getting far. And we're not expecting to win things like and get to Wembley finals every season, but we want to see us giving it a good go. And if we get to Wembley, then that's fantastic. But yeah, I think that mentality has certainly changed now, and this season has showed that with the progression we've had in the Carabao Cup and hopefully in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, I think one thing I just want to pick up on from what you're saying there is, I think Mike Ashley obviously gives like these managers that you're talking about very specific like instructions that you need to stay in the Premier League, and that's what I'm bothered about. And I think these managers, without naming names, probably didn't have any ambitions to win anything, didn't have any ambitions to like further their career or do anything special. They just wanted to sit in a management job and take home the paycheck. So they're just basically doing what they're being asked and hoping to stay in the job. So I think even if Eddie Howe was here under Mike Ashley, he doesn't have that in his personality. He's a winner. He wants to win. So he's like, you see the way he sets the team up for every game. Like, obviously we've just spoken about Arsenal in the previous episode, but we even went to Arsenal to win the game. It was only during the game that we changed to try and nullify them a bit more. So you're going away to the league leaders with the mindset of, we want to win this game. I think, it's obviously a total different time, but I would say this manager is he's different gravy, and so let's hope that we go into the FA Cup with that mindset, and he chooses the team that he thinks is going to get the job done. And moving on to that, Alex, do you think we'll go full strength, as in Premier League starting 11?
I think with the Leicester game 3 days later, I'd be surprised if we go full strength, because obviously since Boxing Day, had games pretty much every 3 days, so I'd be surprised if we went full strength. I imagine there's a few legs that need rested, but there's some players who I would like to see start, and I don't know if we're going to see him, but he's actually been back in training for about a week now, full training. I wonder if this is the kind of game that Eddie's going to ease him back in, instead of throwing him in the deep end at the League Cup quarter-final or Premier League game. I wonder if this is the kind of game where you just try and ease it back in, and give him a chance and get him, hopefully a chance to stretch his legs and show what he can do.
Do you think there's a worry going to a League One team, especially as we're away, that this could be a game that players could potentially pick up some injuries? Or do you think he doesn't really think that way?
So you obviously recency bias with Kraft getting put out for the season. There are obviously dangerous fixtures, and you can't turn up and teams will go to kick the fuck out of you. You'd like to think Sheffield Wednesday, second in League One, playing some good football, scoring a lot of goals. I think they're perhaps the top scorers in League One. I know they've got the best goal difference. You think they'll want to, since it's televised as well, they'll want to put on a good performance and show the world what they can do as well against a side like Newcastle. So it depends. Obviously, they need to be clever with how they try to win the game, because they're facing the side that's third in the Premier League. But I'd like to hope that it's not going to be a repeat of the Kraft injury, where we'll get the lumps kicked out with for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Tom, I just remembered there, while we're talking about Sheffield Wednesday, did you want to mention about Murphy?
It'd be rude not to. I've somehow managed to shoehorn him into every episode. So no, I think I mentioned him in the last one with an eye on this one about Sheffield Wednesday and his previous appearances that he made. I think I got the year wrong though. I thought it was last season he was there, but it's going back quite a few seasons to the 2019-20 when he was shipped out on loan there, and he I think he from what people who follow Sheffield Wednesday have said, like that when he was playing for them, they really rated him. He played 30 odd, nearly 40 games, nearly a full season there, scored 9 goals. So if he was to, he's one of those players you may look at and think, he might rotate into the starting 11. So interesting to see what sort of reception he would get going back to Hillsborough, and seeing what he can do. I think we've mentioned him in terms of we're not sure of that he's Premier League level, and like you'd like to think that coming up against a side currently playing in League One, that he would be a good matchup against them, and it would allow Miggy to have the rest he probably deserves. So Yeah, it's obviously going to be big for those sort of players who are stepping in, if they do, to really, show that that they're able to at least be a threat in a match up against players playing considerably lower down the divisions than we are currently. So yeah, but there's a big giant killing kind of worry that I have, like, with this game, just with us, like, now looking like we're back challenging at the top again. Like, I just hate the fact that if we were to lose this against a side currently in League One, that it would go down in the history books a bit like some of our other horrible FA Cup exits from yesteryear. So yeah, there's a little bit of nerves ahead of this one for me.
And I'm assuming in that season where he went on loan, they were in the Championship.
Yeah, they were the Championship, and
Yeah,
Steve Bruce
was
manager at one point in the season while he was there, before he obviously came to us.
Brutal.
Yeah,
That's why he's developed so well then.
of course.
So what other rotation could we see? Because I gave a bit of a call for in the last episode to the fact that Martin Dubravka is back at the club and he sat on the bench in the last league game. And there's been different things coming out in the media, or so-called media, about what the reason why he's back. If you listen to his official statement, he's happy to be back at Newcastle and he wants to do everything for the team, and he's happy to basically help in any way he can, which sounds like I'm happy to sit on the bench. And Eddie Howe has pretty much said, like, we're absolutely happy to have him back. We've got no problem with him. We understood why he wanted to go and try something else. And now he's back. He's part of the team. The media are trying to kind of say, Leicester need a keeper. We've called him back because we want a Leicester player, i.e. either Tielemans or Maddison. But the fact that he was straight onto the bench would suggest that he is in Eddie Howe's mind to play for us. So, firstly, what's your thoughts on all that? But also, is there a chance of him playing in this game?
Yeah, on that one, if we were planning on selling him, we can't play him. From what I understand, because I think you can only play for a maximum of 2 clubs in one season, and he's obviously played 2 games for Man United. Although I'm not sure if the rules are the same for if they play cup matches or if it counts for league matches. Obviously, he played 2 League Cup matches for Man United in that spell. So if he then played for us in the FA Cup, obviously the cup tie aspect as well would play into facts. But yeah, I'm sure if we were then looking to include him in a deal for, let's say, James Maddison, then he's we wouldn't want to be playing him against Sheffield Wednesday. But if we're not looking, or if we're going to just do a different sort of deal for Maddison, then, or Tielemans, whichever we're talking about, then I don't see why we couldn't play him. I know Nick Pope's obviously been in goal for the League Cup matches as well as the league. I don't see any harm in designating the FA Cup matches to Dubravka just to give him, the minutes in those games. But I still rate him. I still do rate him as a keeper. I know we've probably in recent years had some concerns with him at times, like for his erratic kind of performances where he, which, Nick Pope doesn't really have that in his game, but I still think Dubravka's a good keeper, and I wouldn't be against him stepping in for FA Cup duties.
Yeah, I think a lot of the media are adding one and one together and getting three with this. Like, I don't. I think they're just guessing. They're just. He's coming back, and they're assuming that there's some ulterior motive to him coming back. I just think it was meant to be a 6 month loan. He's come to the end, and he's came back. I think there's not really much more to it, especially with him being on the bench. Don't get us wrong, his long term future is away from Newcastle. He'll be gone, whether it's this window or the next window in the summer. But yeah, I think what we're going to take, because I don't think I've seen any, I want to say, serious media sources saying that, like, linking him to this move to Leicester. I think it's more the ITKs and whatnot trying to get some retweets by getting Newcastle fans excited, saying, oh, this is happening, so then this is going to happen, and Madison's coming, whatever. But yeah, now we've got 5 keepers on the books, so you think someone's got to go. Like, we've still got Karius hanging about. Like, he's not gone. I think he's staying until at least the end of the month to see what's happening. So yeah, like, I wouldn't be adverse to starting Darlow in the Cup, to be fair. Like, he's done a job for in the past. Like, his long-term future could be with Newcastle, especially being homegrown. Like, if we've got these European squads and homegrown quotas we need to fulfill, Darlow's a perfect one. Like, if you look at Man U now, they're trying to sign Jack Butland because he's English, and what do, like, these teams in Europe like to do? Sign an English second or third keeper. Tottenham, Fraser Forster, like, so I could see Darlow staying. So as I said, I wouldn't mind him starting on Saturday, to be fair.
See, I wouldn't mind Karius.
I was going to say Gillespie now as well.
No.
I've seen Gillespie more times than Causey Joes, and I've seen him play football.
Yeah, he's not in the squad, is he? I don't think he got named in the squad.
No, he wouldn't have done.
That raises a question for me: is how can Dubravka just come straight back in and be on the bench? Because surely the squad was full, and we haven't renamed the squad in January yet.
When January's open, I think you can register and unregister players as and when you wish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So obviously, like with Gakpo coming into Liverpool, they can register him straight away. Then whoever's he's replacing, obviously been taken out of the squad.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting because, like you're saying, Dubravka's long-term future is away from Newcastle. But then what do you do with Karius? Because if he has impressed, then you don't want to just leave him to go and sign for another club, and then you don't have the option to keep him long term. So if you think Dubravka's going to go in the summer, do you try and get him in the squad so that he's there for next season? It's going to be interesting to see what they do, but to be honest, I think we'll see Nick Pope in goal. I don't think he'll rotate the keeper too much, but we'll see. Is there any other players that you'd like to see get some minutes in this game?
Yeah, going from back to front, I'd say if we're going to stick with Pope, then fair enough. But I wouldn't be adverse to Darlow or Dubravka. But then Matt Target, I'd like to see coming in.
He's injured, don't he?
Oh, is he still? Is he got a fresh injury?
Target's out for a little while.
Oh, I didn't
realise.
It's
heel injury,
4 or 5 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I honestly thought he was just still out of the side because of Ben. Yeah. Well, in that case, obviously we'll have to use.
That's the thing with the defence is any sub or any rotation you make in the defence actually does weaken it a fair amount.
Cut a lot,
because we don't have Mankio's Trippier's replacement. It'll be Lewis if we want to change the left back.
Yeah.
Unless you do, maybe Lewis goes left back and then Byrne comes in for Share or something to give him a rest. But if you bring Lascelles in, I mean, obviously he should be able to do a job against Sheffield Wednesday, but
yeah,
it is a step down from.
Yeah, definitely drops in quality, but I'm conscious that there are a few that need that rest, and I'd probably say Share. I think Botman's obviously young enough and has a bit more in the tank than Share does to be playing these frequent games. So I would say if Share wants to have that rest, then Lascelles should, come in and I'd like to think he doesn't mess up. I know he played against Tranmere, didn't he, in the first round of the League Cup games that we played, and albeit he was they were a bit shaky at times in that one, but I'd like to think he does.
When he got his nose popped, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he could be quite decent, Lascelles, in a game where if Sheffield Wednesday decide to try and get it a little bit, like try and play a little bit dirtier football, then I think Lascelles could throw himself about a little bit and be a nuisance. So maybe bring him in. I mean, Lewis needs to start doing something to, make the move that he made seem logical. So if with Target being out, then I would quite like to see if Jamal Lewis is going to come in and do something down that left. Midfield wise, we're pretty stuck, aren't we, with what we've got? So can't really envisage any real changes there, unless we were to bring rest Willock and maybe put Joe Linton into the midfield three.
Elliot Anderson could get a run out.
He could, yeah. But where would you play? Would you play Anderson sort of in Willock's position, like off the left side? Is that where you would say Anderson would be best playing, or would you put Anderson in the midfield three?
I don't know, Alex. What do you think?
I think he could do a job either. Like, obviously, he's got the legs. I wouldn't mind seeing him putting instead of sort of Willock or obviously not Longstaff's role, but on the left or the right of the middle three. He could do a job because we are so thin on the ground. Obviously, Shelby's picked up another injury. He's going to be out for another while. So, if we want to rotate, then that might be an option. Obviously, Ryan Fraser's played centre mid a little bit. I know we're clutching at straws here because we are thin on the ground. But going to the forward line, obviously, St. Maximan's not been playing. He's come back from injury. He's actually coming from injury. And then I don't know if this is a possibility, but Kuhl is in Newcastle now.
Yeah.
He's getting a work permit because he's played enough games for Australia in the World Cup. Is there a chance he could play? I don't know,
he could play. Yeah.
He's rules or registered or what, because you don't need to be registered for the FA Cup day. So
no,
is there a chance that he could come into the squad straight away? Because I know Eddie Howe has said that the chances are he is going out on loan.
I think if he comes into training and he impresses, he could play. But I think, like we're saying, that we want to put him out to a decent team, don't we? So it would cup time. So whether that comes into the thinking or not, because then it limits the. I mean, you could still go out with that team, and I think we probably want him playing in the league more than the cups, but it would cup time. So,
but how many teams are going to be in the fourth round of the FA Cup that we're going to loan him to? How many championship sides? And even then, say if we loan him to someone like Middlesbrough, they're not going to be bothered that he's cup tied. They're asked about climbing the league and getting promoted. So I don't think that would put anyone off.
I'd be surprised if he started. But
I'd be shocked.
Don't forget as well that we had a few of the under 23s playing in the pre-season, or keep saying pre-season, the mid-season breakaway in Saudi. I think there was a few that stood out and did quite well for us. Dylan Stevenson, who's a centre forward, be interesting to see whether or not he makes the bench, and Joe White as well is one who always seems to be getting touted as someone who could jump up from the under-23s and start playing some senior football, at least somewhere in the football league. But he's a centre midfielder, so potentially we might see some players like that make up the bench as well. Again, because we're so thin on the ground with senior players as well. So I wouldn't be necessarily throwing those guys in straight away, but if they were to make appearances off the bench, that'd be good to see as well.
I think we've got Kel Watts back as well from his loan spell, whether he makes the squad.
Did he not get an injury?
But I'm thinking. I don't think so. I don't know. I know Matty Longstaff did, and that's why he's back.
Yeah, I thought I read that.
You might be right.
That got an injury, yeah, and that's why we brought him back.
He did in the pre-season, but I think he went out on loan, didn't he? So
he did, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I think for me, we'll probably see Lascelles come in. We'll probably see Lewis. And then I think we will see Maxi and Murphy on the wings. And then I think you'll go like Joe Linton, Bruno and Anderson as the middle three. And then I think Wood starts up top. I'll be surprised if Wilson starts. I'll be surprised if Isak starts. But hopefully Isak's on the bench for the first time and then he can get some minutes into his legs towards the end if we're winning, and then there's no pressure on him.
Yep.
Any other shouts, or should we move on to the Leicester game?
I suppose just like looking at I know we've mentioned Sheffield Wednesday and their form, but like any of their standout players that we want to call out. I know Barry Bannon is like still playing for them, and I think he's somebody that we may need to be, don't allow him any time to dictate play, because he is, still a decent player in that midfield to, get things sort of moving as well. And I think as well, look at Josh Windass as well as somebody who could be another player who might be a bit of a problem for us. But yeah, just thought I'd throw out a few of those names on
Saturday. Windows.
Yeah. He's played it.
Cambridge.
Yeah,
he's played it he's played at a higher level than where he is now as Windass. He was on Rangers books at some point in his career as well. So yeah, they do still have players who are probably playing above their, that could be playing in the Championship at least. I think they're a team destined to head back there soon. So there's going to be some players that we need to be mindful of on their side for sure.
100%. I think, as you say, they're probably more of a Championship quality team than League One. So I'm sure we'll pay them respect, and we'll not go into this one thinking it's going to be an easy game, especially away from home. But yeah, let's move on to the quarter final. Going to be very exciting, and obviously this one we are at home, and it's interesting because we've just played them in the league. Obviously that was away from home, and we beat them 3-0. So how much does that play into the preparation for both sides?
I think
it'll be. Go on, Paige.
Yeah, I was going to say just that there's the pressure on Brendan Rodgers is increasing by the game, and obviously the defeat that that we put against them was quite a big one. There's been a few other ones in the last few games as well for them to. So yeah, I feel like this is the only thing that's keeping Rodgers right now in the job is the prospect of beating us and getting into the semi-finals. And so I feel like it's just this perfect melting pot for us that, I feel like there's going to be so much riding on it for them. Obviously, there's so much riding on it for us, but I feel like that might just be, I think we can get the edge on them in that sense that Rodgers, he's going to be desperate, and I think that'll just play into our hands for me, and we've got that, like you say, the recent win as well just gives us the edge in terms of the mentality is there for us to do it again to them. So I think things like that it seems to just be pointing. Everything seems to be pointing in the right direction for us heading into this one. I'm don't want to get too carried away, but I'm quietly confident in this game.
So I'm going to allude back to our previous pod on Leicester, and obviously they were in really good form. They'd won 4 of the last 5, and they were playing well. But then I brought up the fact that the teams that they'd faced and done well against were all in the bottom half, whereas when they faced the harder teams in the top 6 at the start of the season, they lost every one. And who have they played since? They've played Liverpool, and they've scored 3 goals, but unfortunately 2 of them were in their own net. Valvez, yeah. And he's actually a really solid player, so it's just one of those. And then they've faced high-flying Fulham, who are 7th in the league. And so once again, they're facing 2 sides in the top 10 and lose to them again. And the Toon. So that's 3 more. So it does give you confidence, especially how we're done it at their players. St James's Park is fucking rocking at the moment.
And the quarter-final, you'd expect it to be right up there.
War flags are getting everyone to bring the scarves along. I can't see the result being any different, and I can't see anything else that they could bring that will cause us too many problems. Obviously, they do have individuals that can turn a game on the head. They've got Barnes, they've got Vardy when he's on his game, but you've got Maddison who missed the game. Got Tielemans. Are they already checked out?
Maddison's still injured, isn't he? So that takes that one away. Just before we move on to Tielemans, though, I kind of remember a quote from Rodgers after the defeat, which I won't be getting word for word, but he said something about they weren't prepared for us. They didn't expect that from us when we beat them. So that's why I'm thinking, will we see a different Leicester? Because they've literally just washed us in the flesh. So
I had
will
6
they be
weeks
better
to prepare.
prepared? Well,
I had 6 weeks, not the full World Cup to prepare, and then Rodgers says we weren't prepared.
Yeah, I think
we did. I was going to say we hit them so early in the game. I think we absolutely just demolished any thought of their tactics because of how quickly we came out the blocks against them. So in some respects, it's quite hard for Rodgers to because his game plan was just out the window after 10 minutes. But no, I get what you mean though. It was a bit of a strange excuse to give, but I don't think we'll be able to repeat the trick and hit them, with 2 goals inside 10 minutes in this quarter final. But we'll certainly be the more dominant and attacking team, I would say, from the off in this game. So yeah, if their defence can't, learn from their mistakes and the lessons from that 3-0 defeat, then shows why they're in the position they're in the league, and that they're struggling to stay in the division.
Yeah. So like you were saying about Tielemans, Alex, that'll be an interesting one because, again, all the Twitter accounts will be buzzing if he doesn't play.
Yeah, like, you can sign a pre-contract agreement now with European clubs from the off. So, like, surely his head's, like, already turned now. And I wouldn't put it past Rodgers just to, like, leave him out for his own good. Like, he wants players that are going to, like, play for him going forward. Or do you think that, as Tom said, they're in that need of a win that, like, kind of like, yeah, kind of like when Rashford got disciplined the other day, but then he got brought on at half time, like, because they weren't winning. It's a bit like that he knows that Tielemans wants to go. He knows that he doesn't want to play for Leicester anymore, but what else has he got? So he'll play him. We'll find out, I guess.
I think he dropped them for the Fulham game, didn't he? Or was it the Liverpool game? I'm sure he was on the bench for one of their recent games, but he wasn't injured as far as I was aware. It was like a tactical decision, so you might be right in that. He's already lost faith in him because his head's turned.
He hasn't actually started any of the games since the World Cup, all three of them.
He started against us, didn't he? Just us then, and then the 2 games since he hasn't started. Yeah.
Crazy though.
He seemed to spit his dummy out a bit against us.
I mean, he's somebody who, speaking of the FA Cup, Tielemans, obviously, you know, his goal goes down in Leicester history in the FA Cup final of 21, and winning them their first FA Cup. So yeah.
Oh, I'm talking shite. He did start against Fulham.
It's crazy to see how like much he's kind of fallen out of love with the club, even in this like spell since obviously that great moment of scoring the winning goal in the FA Cup final to where he is now, where he's seemingly out the door. Like it's a strange one, but yeah. He's obviously he's still young and he's got ambitions to want to be playing at higher levels. So yeah, I would probably lean
from the outside. Like his head got turned by the Arsenal rumours, and that he really wanted to get away to Arsenal. And then when it didn't happen, he's just never really been committed to Leicester. Which, to be honest, it puts me off Tielemans. Like, I know there's a lot of people wanting to sign for us, but I don't really like him. I know he's got that quality and he can do amazing things, but I don't find him consistent enough. And I don't really think he's got the mentality. So obviously this is from an armchair perspective, and I'm sure if we did sign him, then they'll have done the due diligence and he must have the mentality. But yeah, I don't know, from the outside looking in, unless he was very cheap, I'm not massive on him personally.
Yeah, no, obviously he plays in a position that we're in desperate need for. So and with his contract running down, it's, again, like we say, it's like the media just, 1+1 and getting 3 sort of scenario. But yeah, I would tend to think that he's got his eyes set, maybe going back on the continent and heading to play for a team in one of those leagues, maybe Serie A potentially. But yeah, I can't see him personally signing for us. I'd be more confident in the Maddison rumours. But yeah, obviously Leicester have got their FA Cup game as well that we haven't mentioned yet, and they've got a 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday. So they've got a Gillingham away, which again looks like it could be a giant killing in the making. So it'd be interesting to see how obviously that fixture plays into what could potentially be for what happens on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing is like how our FA Cup game goes and how theirs goes could also play into how the quarter final goes. Do you think they'll go with a strong team? I'm assuming you do, seeing as you think Rodgers is like next on the line.
I think I'll go for a strong team, like in the quarter final of the cup. I think, I think absolutely will. I think they'll get probably similar to Newcastle. They're more likely to rotate a little bit for their tie against Gillingham. So I think it's more likely they'll play like a strong side against us and the league game after, and then just this game at the weekend they'll have a bit more of a rest for some of the big starting players.
Do you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think coming into a game against a Gillingham side who aren't doing particularly great, I believe, I would expect them to turn Gillingham over, even with a slightly weaker team, and that they would save themselves for the quarter final. But I'd like to think that we both sides, us and we get through against Sheffield Wednesday, Leicester would get through against Gillingham, and then we kind of all just comes down to how things are in this quarter final between us. But yeah, I do think that it's a massive game for Rodgers if he's going to carry on. I do think that he's going to be, if we knock them out in the quarterfinals, that Rodgers won't have much longer as a Leicester manager.
Yeah, be interesting because he did kind of pick up form in the Premier League, and then obviously since they've returned from the World Cup, it's been bad form again. So that's my only thought with whether he's got an eye on the Premier League, because they're not like really in trouble, but they could get dragged into that relegation battle again. But I think in terms of our side, I imagine we're all confident we'll go full strength for the quarter final. And my question to you is whether you think any of the rotation we do for the FA Cup, whether those guys have got any chance of playing themselves into the starting lineup for the Carabao Cup, or do you think Eddie Howe's mind's already set on his starting 11 for that game?
I don't think any of the ones who come in for the Sheffield Wednesday game would start. No, I don't unless maybe Maxi, if we were talking about Maxi potentially getting a start and coming back in against Sheffield Wednesday, potentially if he has a stormer and gets a few goals, maybe he runs it close for getting in ahead of Joelinton or Willock for the Leicester game. But I would tend to think he would head back towards that a similar lineup to what we've seen him put out against Arsenal.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I think basically the only two players who could start on Saturday who could make their way into contention are probably St. Maximan and Isak. And to be honest, I'd be shocked to see Isak start with his obviously coming back from an injury. It just depends how much he's been training, how Eddie feels, how the sports science team feel about him getting back in. But as we've said, if you look at the depth that we've got, you haven't really got anyone on the fringes who are fighting for a first team start apart from those players, really.
No, not now. Target's injured.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can't actually think of anyone else. I mean, if Chris Wood bangs in a hat-trick, is he getting a start?
No, still not starting.
In fairness, though, he
will still get a full 90 minutes rest.
It was Chris Wood who started the game away at Leicester, and obviously got one from the spot. So, like, I wouldn't put it against him.
I think sometimes when Eddie Howe praises players, he's slightly, bullshit. He's like, I've kind of got to say it. It's good for their mentality. So, well, I feel with Chris Wood, he does actually mean it, what he says. I think he likes his work rate. Like you saw when he comes on about against Arsenal, like it's probably from his time at Burnley and like other relegation teams. Like he knows how to play that defensive centre forward role. But it's whether he can bring in Almiron and Joe Linton or Maxi or whoever enough if he's not going to be scoring himself. Because, his game against Leeds was terrible.
That's what he's going to have to be judged on, is opening it up for some of the other, classier, like, attacking players to do it. And if he's not doing that, then he's just a big lump up forward who's, may as well stick him in defence if that's the case. But, I don't know. He was frustrating that Leeds game. Like he offered nothing, and I just can't go through another game where he just doesn't do anything. It would be a big call for Eddie to put him in against Leicester for me. But even if he does do well against Sheffield Wednesday, if he starts that one.
Right, anything else? Because I've got to get off to work, lads. So.
I'm just gone to bed, mate.
Right, well, let's all hope. Actually, let's do some predictions quickly before we sign off.
Oof.
Sheffield Wednesday away.
The cup games are always hard to predict.
Well, we're going to have Lascelles. Right, you can go then, Paige.
Sheffield Wednesday, that one I'm going to say 2-0. 2-0. I think we'll keep the clean sheet run going in that one. The Leicester one, now, this is a decision I've got to make tonight, whether or not I'm going to that game. And just to mention, I haven't mentioned it on the pod in a while, but my recent games this season have been absolutely dreadful. I've seen 4 games this season, 2 of them in the Carabao Cup against Bournemouth and against Crystal Palace. Yeah, and then the previous game before that was the Palace league game, and I was obviously at the Leeds game on Saturday, and so all them games I've only seen 1 goal, and the other 3 were 0-0s. I'm now starting to think: do I need to just keep myself away from St James's Park for a little bit, for the best, for everybody's sake? So the Leicester game, I'm gonna say it'll be a tight one, but I'm gonna probably say 1-0 to the Toon.
Well, I think the Leicester will be tighter than Sheffield game due to us starting at full strength 11. So, you know what? I'm going to go for 3-0 again. Like, I've got the home crowd. It's going to be absolutely electric. Get an early goal, and I think it could go the same way again. As for Saturday, as I was saying before, Lascelles starting, so Sheffield are going to score. So I'm going to go with 3-1 to the Toon. I think we should fairly comfortably get past them, but there's going to be some kind of scare somewhere. They might even go 1-0 up. But yeah, 3-1 on Saturday, and I'll be steaming by full time. I'll be steaming by kick-off, to be fair.
God, definitely. If it's a 6 o'clock kick-off, I wouldn't put it past you.
Well, I'm going to say FA Cup 4-2 to the Toon, and then
4-2.
FA Cup 2-0 to the Toon. And yeah, let's hope let's hope we're at least right on the wins, and then we'll be marching on.
And Newcastle going to get the wins because you can call us N-dubs.
Okay, so thanks to Fixing Everyone for this episode. Apart from that joke, if you enjoyed the episode,
how have I never heard this joke before?
Drop us a subscription. I'm just going to leave it there. See you in the next one.